Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 things that I regret about my vinyl record collection. I've been collecting records for over 3 years now, and I was recently thinking about some things that I kind of regret about my collection. This is going to be a really interesting video with a lot of topics to discuss, so let's get into it. One of the main things I regret about my record collection is spending so much money on it. I knew going into this hobby that it was going to be expensive, but now after 3 years, I've kind of realized how much money I've put into it, and I'm kind of like, whoa, that's a lot of money. I don't want to know how much I've collectively spent on my record collection between records, equipment, cleaning supplies, sleeves, all of that. Collectively, it's probably now at least a couple thousand, but I try not to think about that too much because that is a lot of money for a hobby. Definitely my most expensive hobby. I'm not broke or anything like that. I've definitely been budgeting when it comes to collecting records. I do plan out how much I'm going to spend each month on vinyl, but again, it does add up over time, and just seeing that number increase every year is like kind of crazy to me, especially when it comes to new vinyl that's very expensive. I do try to budget and limit myself now that I have so many records. You guys have seen in past videos, I do have a lot in my collection. There are a few things that I do kind of regret buying, a few records here and there that I'm not really into anymore, so I definitely do regret a few things, which is why now I am very careful about which records I buy and which records I put on my want list. And that is just a personal thing, but sometimes I do regret how much money I've spent on vinyl. It's weird to me, like I have a love-hate relationship with how much I've spent on vinyl. I know a lot of these records are valuable to me and I love them and I play them all the time, but on the other hand, I'm also like, wow, that's a lot of money, but it does come with the hobby, which does lead me to my next point. I'm sure everyone who has a record collection has made at least one impulse purchase. Throughout these 3 years, I have definitely made a few impulse purchases, not many, which I'm proud to say that. Usually I am very good about not making impulse purchases, but again, there are a few that I kind of regret, and that's the reason why I do purge my collection pretty often, and I have sold some of my records that I felt were impulse purchases, which is kind of the cycle of a record collection. A lot of that also has to do with pre-orders, especially when it comes to colored vinyl. I have made a lot of pre-order impulse purchases, and especially like during the pandemic, which is when I started my collection, there were definitely a lot of purchases that I made that were pre-orders, and because of the pandemic they were delayed a very long time. A few records in my collection I've waited over a year to actually get delivered to my house. Like some records have taken months and months to get here, and by the time they get here I'm kind of over the hype, you know? I'm not as excited about it as I once was, and so part of me like kind of regretted those purchases. I would definitely say that I do have a lot more self-control now over my purchases, and I haven't made an impulse purchase in a very long time. I regret taking so long to listen to new music and expand my taste. I feel like I have a very small, niche, specific taste in music. I know what I like, I know what I'll listen to, and I kind of stay in that box. I don't really tend to branch out a whole lot. Like I said, I kind of just listen to the same music and the same artist all the time, and I don't really branch out a whole lot, which I do regret now. Recently, I've gotten a ton of recommendations, whether it's a song recommendation or people have sent me vinyl in the mail that they think I would like, and that has definitely helped me to branch out and expand my taste, listen to new songs and artists that I would have never known about before, and I just regret not doing that sooner. And I also regret that it kind of took other people to get me out of my box when it comes to my music taste. If I didn't have my YouTube channel, I probably would not have done that by myself, which is kind of crazy to think about. Only recently I have branched out and started listening to different music, which I do kind of regret. Like if I did that sooner, I would have definitely had a way bigger record collection with a lot of different varieties and genres. This one kind of goes for the record collecting hobby as a whole, but it does kind of affect my record collection. I do regret falling for the whole gimmick behind record store day. This could be a whole nother video topic on its own, so I'm kind of just gonna briefly talk about this. It also might be a little bit of a controversial topic or like a hot topic within the vinyl community, but it's something that I did realize this past record store day. I used to get really excited for record store day and the list drop, but with every year I've started to get less excited for it and a little more disappointed with the list. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea behind Record Store Day, getting all different kinds of people out to support their local record stores and support small businesses. That is great. I love that part about Record Store Day, but it has kind of become sort of like a cash grab kind of gimmick, which I do kind of regret not realizing that sooner and kind of falling for it myself a little bit. Every year I kind of wonder, who is this list really for? I do see a lot of repeat artists, repeat pressings, a lot of similar stuff on the list every year, but the main thing recently I think for me was the whole Taylor Swift deal, her becoming the ambassador and her having her own exclusive records for Record Store Day. I think that is what made me realize the whole gimmick behind Record Store Day. Like the resellers and the scalpers who come into Record Store Day and they drive up the price of these records, especially with Taylor Swift, like that was a big thing. Maybe I'm not explaining this well, but I have kind of realized it is a really big event for consumers rather than fans. Of course, there are tons of fans who go out just for the records, but there are also a huge number of people who just go because they're consumers and they buy these records to sell them online at a crazy high price. I try not to fall for the whole consumerism aspect of Record Store Day. I just go for what I want, but I think it's a really interesting topic to talk about the whole consumerism side of Record Store Day. Part of me really loves Record Store Day and part of me sees it as this crazy consumerism event, and I know to this day a lot of my local stores still have a lot of Record Store Day pressings that haven't sold, so I feel bad for them in that way because some of them may be losing money, and a lot of it is overpriced and the record pressing plants are definitely backed up for months. Like there's a whole number of things going on surrounding Record Store Day that I wish I'd realized sooner. Maybe I would have not participated in recent years if there wasn't something that I absolutely needed. There are a lot of Record Store Day pressings that I do regret buying. I kind of just wanted to go for the event, and of course I wanted to support my local record stores, but I did kind of fall into that consumerism part a little bit. Now that I've been doing it for a couple of years, I've kind of seen the more negative or darker things about Record Store Day when it comes from record store owners and the whole scalper thing, and I wish I realized those sooner so I could try to avoid them or just be more knowledgeable about Record Store Day. The last thing that I regret about my record collection is not starting sooner. So I started my collection in May of 2020, so it has been just over 3 years now. 3 years isn't even a long time, but since vinyl is super popular right now, I wish I had started sooner. My parents did not pass any records down to me. I do actually have one record from my mom, but that's it. So it's not like they passed down their collection to me. I wasn't exposed to vinyl until I really discovered it myself in 2020. My parents definitely were into it a little bit when they were younger, but they never passed any of that stuff down. And also, I do feel like I missed out on a lot of pressings because of when I started. There are a lot of pressings, specifically some 5 Seconds of Summer records that I really wish I had gotten, but when they came out, I just wasn't in the vinyl collecting hobby back then, so I did miss out on those pressings, and now they are super rare, they're worth a ton of money, and if I had just started my collection sooner, I would have probably been able to get those records. I wasn't trying to be super negative in this video, but there are a few things I do regret about my record collection, about starting my record collection, and where I'm at now, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about. I think these topics kind of start up a really interesting conversation, so in the comments let me know your thoughts on all of these regrets that I talked about. Let me know if you agree with me or not, and you can also let me know in the comments some things that you regret about your record collection. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!